Welcome to Love Lies Chronicles.
I'd really appreciate your comment. It helps me understand if you enjoyed the story and how I can improve in future ones. The night my relationship died started with documents I didn't ask to see and ended with a clarity I should have found years earlier. I was reviewing a proposal for a new surgical robotics implementation at Northwestern Memorial when Cordelia walked into my Lincoln Park townhouse dining room with her father's attorney trailing behind her. She set a leather folder directly on top of my laptop, blocking my screen. "We need to handle this tonight," she announced, her Louboutins clicking against the hardwood I'd refinished myself 3 years ago, before Saturday's dinner party. I looked up at her, then at the attorney, a man I'd never met, wearing a suit that cost more than most people's monthly rent. "What dinner party?" Cordelia's perfectly shaped eyebrows arched in that expression I'd learned meant I was being deliberately difficult. "The one I've been planning for 2 weeks, Griffin. 30 people. Saturday night. Here." She gestured around the dining room like it was obvious. "I sent you the calendar invite." I hadn't seen any calendar invite, but that wasn't the primary concern. "And this?" I tapped the folder. "A trust document. Standard stuff for couples at our level." She pulled out the chair across from me, settling in with the confidence of someone who'd already decided how this conversation would end. "It adds my name to the property deed. My father's attorney drew it up. Stephen, say hello, so you know it's legitimate." Stephen nodded professionally, setting his briefcase on my table. I opened the folder, scanning the first page. Legal language about joint ownership, asset transfer, irrevocable trust provisions. "Cordelia, this is my house. I bought it 4 years ago, before we even met. And I've lived here for 18 months, making it a home instead of a bachelor warehouse." She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "This is about partnership, Griffin, showing we're equally invested in our future together. By signing over half my property without time to review it with my own attorney." Her smile vanished. "You don't trust me with your house after everything I've sacrificed? After I've turned this place into somewhere respectable? Do you know what my friends say about me living in Lincoln Park instead of the Gold Coast?" I closed the folder carefully. "I'd like my lawyer to review this before I sign anything." "Your lawyer?" She laughed, sharp and brittle. "Griffin, my father is Richard Ashford. Ashford and Klein Properties. Stephen works for one of the most respected real estate law firms in Chicago. What exactly do you think your lawyer is going to find that Stephen missed?" "That's not the point. The point is partnership." She leaned forward, her voice dropping to that dangerous register I'd learned to recognize. "The point is showing that after 18 months of me making this relationship work, of elevating your image, of introducing you to people who actually matter in this city, you can demonstrate basic trust. Or are you still that kid from Cleveland who thinks everyone's trying to take something from him?" The Cleveland reference was a precision strike. She knew exactly where to cut. I'd grown up in a neighborhood where owning property seemed like a fantasy. Buying this townhouse at 28 had felt like proof I'd made it. She was using my own success against me. "I'm not signing tonight," I said quietly. "Not without legal review. That's not negotiable." Cordelia stood abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor. "Then maybe we need to reconsider what we're doing here. Because if you can't trust me with this after everything I've given up living in this neighborhood instead of somewhere worthy of my background, I have to question what's even the point." She grabbed her Birkin bag from the counter. "I could be with someone who values partnership over paranoia, Griffin. Someone who doesn't treat me like a threat." She left, Stephen the attorney following awkwardly behind her. The door closed with a controlled click that somehow felt worse than a slam. I sat in the silence of my dining room, staring at the folder. 18 months she'd lived here. 18 months of slowly transforming my space into something I barely recognized. The industrial light fixtures I'd loved replaced with crystal chandeliers. My comfortable sectional swapped for an uncomfortable designer couch. My workout equipment relocated to the basement to make room for her meditation space. All of it expensive. All of it charged to accounts I paid. I pulled out my phone and called the one person whose judgment I trusted. "It's almost midnight," Morgan answered, her voice sleep rough. "Everything okay?" "Not really," I admitted. "Can I come over?" There was a pause, then I heard her moving. "Always. I'll put coffee on." Morgan Reeves lived in a converted loft in Pilsen, the kind of space that actually felt like a home instead of a showroom. She answered the door in paint-stained sweatpants and a Northwestern hoodie I'd given her 6 years ago, her dark hair pulled into a messy bun. "That bad?" she asked, taking in my expression. "Cordelia showed up with her father's lawyer tonight. Wants me to sign over half my house. Has a dinner party planned for Saturday that I didn't know about. And when I said I wanted my attorney to review the documents first, she basically threatened to leave me." Morgan handed me a mug of coffee and settled onto her couch, tucking her feet under her. "Okay, start from the beginning." I told her everything. The document ambush, the unnamed attorney, the party I'd never agreed to host, Cordelia's escalation from request to threat in under 5 minutes. Morgan listened without interrupting, her photographer's eyes taking in details I probably wasn't even aware I was communicating. When I finished, she was quiet for a long moment. "Can I show you something?" she finally asked. She pulled out her phone, navigating to Instagram. Cordelia's profile appeared, 47,000 followers, each post a carefully curated glimpse of lifestyle perfection. Morgan scrolled back several months, stopping on a video tour of my townhouse. I watched Cordelia walk through my living room, gesturing at furniture and artwork. "When I bought this place, it was a typical bachelor disaster," her recorded voice said. "But I saw the potential. These exposed brick walls, the natural light. I knew exactly what to do with the space." When she bought it, I repeated. Morgan kept scrolling. More posts, more references. My Lincoln Park investment. Renovating our home. The aesthetic choices I made in our entryway. Every post carefully implied ownership. Not joint ownership, sole ownership. "She's been building this narrative for months," Morgan said quietly. "These posts go back to last summer, right after she moved in." I felt something cold settle in my chest. This wasn't impulsive. This was planned. Systematic. "Why didn't you show me this before?" I asked. Morgan's expression was pained. "Would you have believed me? You've been so." She searched for the right word. "Committed to making it work. Every time I tried to point out red flags, you had an explanation." She stressed. "She comes from a different background. She's just trying to fit into my world. You weren't ready to see it." She was right. For 18 months, I'd been making excuses, convincing myself that love meant accepting everything, accommodating everything, becoming whatever Cordelia needed me to be. "What do I do?" I asked. "Document everything from this point forward," Morgan said immediately. "Don't sign anything." "And Griffin?" She met my eyes. "Start being honest with yourself about what this relationship actually is." I stayed at Morgan's until 3 in the morning, going through Cordelia's social media presence post by post, seeing the calculated pattern I'd been too close to recognize. By the time I left, I knew what I was dealing with. I just didn't know how far she'd go. Friday afternoon, Cordelia returned with an elaborate apology. She'd been stressed, overwhelmed with party planning, and had overreacted. She understood I wanted my attorney to review the documents. "Could we please just table the whole discussion until after Saturday's dinner party?" Which was really about celebrating our future together. The performance was masterful. Tears at exactly the right moments. Her hand on mine, with precisely calculated pressure. The subtle implication that my forgiveness would prove my love. "Who's coming to this party?" I asked. "Just friends," she said lightly. "Some of my father's colleagues. A few people from your industry. Morgan, if you want to invite her." "As a guest, not as a photographer?" "Of course as a guest." She smiled. "Though you know she'd probably prefer to be behind the camera. She's so awkward at these things." The casual cruelty toward Morgan, who'd been nothing but kind to Cordelia, should have been my final sign. Instead, I agreed to the party. I wanted to see what she was planning. Saturday morning, a catering team arrived at 7 a.m. By noon, my townhouse was transformed into something from a luxury magazine spread. By 6 p.m., Cordelia had changed outfits 3 times, finally settling on a white dress that photographed beautifully. She'd laid out my clothes, a designer suit I'd never seen before, price tag still attached. $1,800. "Put this on," she said. "The navy one makes you look provincial." I wore my own suit. Morgan arrived at 7, and I saw her take in the scene with professional assessment. The photographer Cordelia had hired, not Morgan, setting up in strategic locations. The seating chart that placed me between Cordelia and her father. The guest list that included 3 real estate attorneys I'd never met. "This is a setup," Morgan murmured when Cordelia was greeting guests. "I know," I said. "I want to see how it plays." By 8 p.m., 30 people filled my home. Cordelia was performing hostess with practiced perfection. Her father, Richard Ashford, held court near my kitchen island, discussing property values and investment opportunities. Everyone seemed to know each other. I recognized maybe 6 people. Halfway through dinner, Cordelia stood, tapping her wine glass for attention. "Thank you all for being here tonight," she began, her voice carrying that particular pitch that suggested emotion barely contained. "Griffin and I wanted to gather the people who matter most to us to share some exciting news about the next chapter in our journey together." I hadn't agreed to share any news. My hand tightened on my water glass. "Partnership is about more than just love," Cordelia continued. "It's about building something together, making sacrifices for each other, showing trust in tangible ways." She looked directly at me. "Griffin and I have decided to make our home officially ours. To take that next step that shows we're truly equal partners in every way." The implication was clear. The property transfer was happening. Done. Decided. The guests applauded. Richard Ashford stood, raising his glass. "I'm proud of you both. Griffin, welcome to the family officially. It takes a strong man to make my daughter an equal partner in every way, not just words." More applause. Cordelia presented me with a wrapped gift. Inside was a custom plaque reading, "The Ashford Hayes Residence, EST 2024, and a framed photo of us in front of the townhouse. Every eye in the room was on me. This was the pressure point. She'd announced it publicly, made it social fact before legal fact. Refusing now would humiliate her in front of 30 people in my own home. She was backing me into a corner, using social dynamics as the weapon. I stood, maintaining a calm I didn't entirely feel. "Thank you, Cordelia. This is a thoughtful gift." I set it on the table. Though I should clarify for everyone here that while I appreciate the sentiment, Cordelia and I still need to have our attorneys finalize the legal details before any property changes are made official. Cordelia's smile didn't waver, but her eyes went cold. "Griffin's being modest. We've already agreed to everything. He's just concerned about boring everyone with legal technicalities." "No," I said clearly. "We haven't agreed. This is still under discussion." The room went silent. That particular silence where 30 people suddenly became very interested in their dinner plates. Cordelia's mask cracked. Her laugh was too high, too brittle. "Griffin, I haven't agreed to any property transfer," I repeated. "I'm sorry you've given people that impression, but it's not accurate." Her face transformed. Rage barely contained beneath a trembling smile. "Excuse me," she said, her voice shaking. "I need a moment." She left the dining room. Within 15 minutes, half the guests had made awkward excuses and departed. By 10 p.m., the house was empty except for Morgan, helping me clean up in silence. "That took courage," she finally said, loading plates into my dishwasher. "That was me realizing I'm done being manipulated. She's going to escalate." "I know." At 11 p.m., Cordelia returned. The guests were gone. Morgan had left. It was just us in the townhouse that was legally mine and emotionally hers. "How dare you?" she said, her voice low and shaking. "How dare you humiliate me in front of everyone? My father was here. His colleagues. People I have to face at the club. You humiliated yourself by announcing something that wasn't true. Everyone thinks we're signing papers Monday. I've been telling people for weeks. You've been lying for weeks." Her hand shot out, grabbing a wine glass from the counter and hurling it against the wall. It shattered, red wine bleeding down my white brick. "You're going to sign those papers, Griffin, or I'm going to make sure everyone knows exactly what kind of man you are." "What does that mean?" "It means I've documented everything. Every controlling behavior. Every time you've made me feel small. Every instance of financial manipulation." She was pacing now, manic energy barely contained. "By the time I'm done, you won't be able to get a meeting at a community hospital, let alone Northwestern Memorial. I'll destroy you professionally and personally." "You've documented what exactly?" "Everything I need. Texts, emails, recordings. I've built a case, Griffin. I've been preparing for this possibility since the moment you started showing your true colors." She stopped pacing, facing me directly. "Sign the papers or watch your reputation burn. Your choice." Something crystallized in that moment. This wasn't anger or hurt feelings. This was premeditated manipulation. She'd planned for this contingency, built leverage, prepared to deploy at the moment I didn't comply. "Get out of my house," I said quietly. "Your house? That's the problem. This is my house too. I live here. I've made this place what it is. You have 48 hours to remove your belongings. I'll be staying elsewhere. When I return Monday evening, I expect you gone. You can't just throw me out. This is my property. You pay no rent. You have no lease. Legally, you're a guest who's overstayed. I'm asking you to leave. I walked upstairs, packed a bag with essentials, and left. She was still shouting as I closed the door, something about lawyers and her father and how I'd regret this. I drove to Morgan's loft, called her from the parking lot, and was buzzed up immediately. I left her, I said when she opened the door. Morgan pulled me inside. For real this time? For real. She handed me a beer, and I told her everything. The dinner party ambush, the public announcement, the private threats. By the time I finished, Morgan had her laptop open. She's already started her counter-narrative, Morgan said, turning the screen toward me. Cordelia's Instagram stories showed carefully edited clips from the dinner party. Images of happy guests, the plaque gift, romantic shots of us together. The captions told a different story than reality. Taking the next step with my love. Building our empire together. So grateful for this partnership. No mention of my refusal. No hint of conflict. Just a curated fantasy. She's controlling the public narrative while planning to destroy me privately. I said. Morgan nodded. Classic strategy. Look perfect online while building a victim case offline. My phone buzzed. Malcolm Price, my college roommate, now an entertainment lawyer, was video calling. Morgan must have texted him. Tell me everything, Malcolm said when I answered. I recounted the night again. Malcolm listened, his lawyer brain already working through angles. Illinois is a two-party consent state for recordings, he said. But there's an exception for when one party believes a crime is being committed or they're being threatened or extorted. Her threat tonight, about destroying your reputation unless you sign property over, that's potentially extortion. So I could record her? If you can get her to say it again, yes. Especially if she's threatening your professional reputation or attempting to coerce property transfer through false allegations. Malcolm leaned closer to the camera. But Griffin, this is serious. If you're going to do this, do it right. Professional equipment. Clear audio. Documented timestamp. And you need to make her think she's winning. How? Offer to meet. Say you want to discuss a solution. Let her believe you're reconsidering. Get her comfortable enough to tell the truth. Morgan had been listening. That's manipulative. So is what she's doing, Malcolm countered. Griffin's protecting himself with truth. She's attacking him with lies. There's a difference. We spent the next 2 hours planning. Malcolm sent me information on recording equipment. Morgan pulled up locations, neutral, public, with ambient noise that wouldn't interfere with audio quality. We mapped out questions that would get Cordelia to reveal her actual intentions. By 3 a.m., we had a strategy. Now I just needed her to agree to meet. Sunday, I stayed silent. No response to Cordelia's 17 calls and 23 texts. She cycled through every manipulation tactic, apologies, threats, tearful voice messages, angry accusations. I documented everything but responded to nothing. Monday, I had the locks changed. Called a lawyer about formal eviction procedures. Cordelia's belongings remained in the house, but she could no longer access it without my presence. Tuesday, her Instagram strategy shifted. The happy couple posts disappeared, replaced by vague sadness. A photo of rain against a window. When you realize home isn't a place. A selfie with red eyes. Learning who people really are. Stories about financial abuse and gaslighting, and finally seeing the truth. She was seeding the victim narrative, testing which story resonated most with her audience. Wednesday brought the nuclear option. The Chicago Medical Innovation Gala was a major industry event. 400 attendees, live-streamed presentations, significant press coverage. I was receiving a recognition award from Dr. Annika Bergstrom for our successful surgical robotics implementation at Northwestern. I'd bought my ticket months ago. I'd hoped Cordelia would stay home. She didn't. I was on stage accepting the award, Dr. Bergstrom handing me the glass plaque, when Cordelia stood up in the audience. She was in a red gown, flanked by 2 friends, clearly having pre-gamed the event. "That's my fiancé," she shouted, her voice carrying through the grand ballroom at Navy Pier. The man who promised me everything and then locked me out of my own home. 400 people went silent. I froze at the microphone, the award heavy in my hands. Cordelia continued, her voice breaking with practiced emotion. He made me believe we were building a life together. I decorated that house. I hosted his clients. I supported his career. And when I asked him to make me an equal partner, just to add my name to the deed of the home we share, he threw me out like garbage. She was crying now, genuine tears streaming down her face. Several people had their phones out, filming. Dr. Bergstrom stood from her seat at the head table. "Security, please escort this person out. Ask Griffin about the prenup he tried to force me to sign." Cordelia shouted as security approached. "Ask him why he's so obsessed with protecting his money, his property, while I gave up my career to support him." It was a masterclass in public manipulation. Every word carefully chosen to paint me as a controlling, financially abusive partner. Security was gentle but firm, guiding her toward the exit. She went without resistance, sobbing dramatically. I stood at the microphone with 400 people staring at me, cameras still rolling, social media already buzzing. I made a decision. "I apologize that you had to witness that," I said, my voice steady. "For the record, that woman moved into a home I purchased before we met. She has never paid rent or contributed to the mortgage. I have never asked her to sign a prenup because we have never set a wedding date. These statements are demonstrably false. I regret that she chose this venue to make them." I stepped down. The room erupted in whispers. Dr. Bergstrom caught my arm as I passed. "I'm sorry, Griffin. It's not your fault. Do you have documentation? Of the property ownership?" "Extensive documentation. Of everything." She nodded. "Good. You're going to need it." By the time I reached my car, the videos were online. Multiple angles of Cordelia's outburst. Dozens of posts about the drama at the medical gala. The narrative was splitting. Some saw Cordelia as a wronged woman. Others saw theatrical manipulation. I drove to a hotel, the Roby in Wicker Park, and checked in under an assumed name. My phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Morgan arrived with her laptop and a determined expression. "Okay, now we fight back." She'd already compiled 8 years of documentary photography showing my character, helping friends move, volunteering at medical device demonstrations, building my business from nothing. Evidence of who I actually was. Malcolm called again. "The gala incident is bad. She's good at this. But it also might have been her biggest mistake." "How?" "She went public with specific claims. Claims you can disprove. Now when you release the truth, you're not attacking, you're defending. The narrative shifts from man exposes woman to man corrects public lies. Much better optics." "I need to get her to meet with me," I said. "Get her on record admitting what she's actually doing. Do it soon, before her version becomes the accepted truth." Thursday afternoon, I texted Cordelia, "This has gotten out of hand. Can we meet and talk? I want to find a solution." She responded within 30 seconds. "Finally. Where?" "Somewhere neutral. Intelligentsia Coffee in the Monadnock building. 2 p.m. tomorrow?" "I'll be there." I spent Thursday night preparing. Malcolm overnight professional recording equipment. Small, high quality, legally admissible. Morgan helped me practice the conversation flow. The goal wasn't to trap Cordelia. It was to let her reveal herself. Friday at 2 p.m., I walked into Intelligentsia with the recording device in my jacket pocket. Illinois law was clear. I could record if I believed I was being threatened or extorted. Cordelia's threat to destroy my reputation, her attempt to coerce property transfer, both qualified. She arrived 5 minutes late, wearing designer sunglasses despite being indoors. She removed them with practiced drama, revealing perfect makeup that couldn't quite hide her genuine exhaustion. "I'm glad you finally came to your senses," she said, sitting across from me. "The gala was unfortunate, but you pushed me to that." I pressed record. "I want to understand what you actually want here," I said, keeping my voice level and curious. "I want what I deserve, Griffin. That house should have my name on it. I've earned it. By moving in 18 months ago? By making you look legitimate." Her voice took on an edge. "Do you think Northwestern Memorial would work with some nobody from Cleveland without me elevating your image? I introduced you to people. I made you acceptable to my father's circle. I transformed you from a tech consultant into someone who belongs in rooms that matter. And the house is payment for that. The house is the minimum. Once we're married, it's all community property anyway. I'm just expediting the process. Being smart about securing my future." "We're not engaged, Cordelia." She laughed. "We are according to Instagram." According to everyone who matters. According to the 3,000 comments on my posts this week offering me support and sympathy. You think you can back out now? You think anyone will believe you didn't lead me on? Even if I never proposed? Even if we never set a date? Griffin, I have screenshots of you promising me everything. Conversations where you said you wanted to build a life together. Messages about our future home. I've carefully curated 2 years of evidence. Screenshots you manufactured? Screenshots I optimized. Contexts I arranged. Narratives I shaped. She leaned forward, confident now. Who's going to believe you over me? I'm Richard Ashford's daughter. You're a consultant from Cleveland who got lucky with one good contract. I have 47,000 followers. You have 600. My story is better than yours. Better meaning more compelling? Better meaning more strategic. Look, this was always about securing my future. You're a vehicle, Griffin. A very nice vehicle with excellent property assets and decent earning potential. If you'd signed the papers at the dinner party like a rational person, we could have continued pleasantly. But you made it difficult, so now I'm making it difficult back. I let the silence sit, encouraging her to fill it. The gala was just the beginning, she continued. I have 3 interviews scheduled. One with a podcast about financial abuse in relationships. One with a lifestyle blogger who covers coercive partnerships. And one with Chicago Magazine for their series on toxic men in business. Each one will add layers to the narrative. By the time I'm done, the only question people will have is how you got away with this behavior for so long. All based on lies. Based on a narrative. And my narrative is much more compelling than yours, Griffin. Poor girl from prominent family, taken advantage of by ambitious social climber who used her connections then discarded her when she asked for basic partnership. People love that story. It confirms what they want to believe about men like you. Men like me. Climbers. People from nowhere who forget where they came from the moment they get a little success. Your own insecurity is your weakness. You're so afraid of being that kid from Cleveland that you overcompensate with control. It makes you easy to paint as abusive. And if I go public with the truth? She laughed again, that brittle sound I'd learned to recognize. With what truth? That you let me live in your precious house for free for 18 months? That you were stupid enough to believe I actually loved you? The truth makes you look pathetic, Griffin. Weak. Easily manipulated. My version makes you look predatory. Which do you think plays better on social media? What about the property transfer documents? The lawyer you brought without warning? I'll say you pressured me to bring them. That you've been insisting for months. I'll say I was trying to appease your demands when you suddenly changed your mind to maintain control. I'll cry in the interview. I'll show the messages where you told me to leave. I'll frame it as you escalating financial abuse when I pushed back against your control. That's all false. That's all strategic. She checked her phone briefly, then looked back at me. Look, Griffin, I'm not without mercy. Here's what I'm willing to do. You sign over 40% of the property instead of 50%. I'll retract the abuse allegations quietly. We'll announce an amicable separation. You get to keep your reputation relatively intact. I get financial security. Everyone wins. And if I refuse, then I destroy you. It's that simple. I have the platform, the narrative, and the family connections to make it happen. You're good at medical devices, Griffin. I'm good at this. You can't win a PR war against me. She leaned back, confident she'd made her position clear. I stood up, pulling out my phone and stopping the recording app. Thank you for being so honest. It's actually refreshing. Her face changed. What? I said thank you. This conversation was very illuminating. What did you just do with your phone? Illinois is a 2-party consent state, Cordelia. But there's an exception when one party believes they're being threatened or extorted. You just spent 20 minutes describing your extortion plan in detail. Every word recorded. Time-stamped. Legally admissible. The blood drained from her face. You wouldn't. You told me yourself, my narrative isn't as compelling as yours. So I'm letting you tell my story for me. In your own words. I walked out of the coffee shop, leaving her sitting there in stunned silence. Morgan and Malcolm met me at my hotel room. We spent Friday evening reviewing the recording, transcribing key sections, verifying audio quality. It was devastating. Cordelia admitted to fabricating evidence and screenshots, planning systematic reputation destruction, viewing our relationship as purely transactional, orchestrating social situations to pressure property transfer, threatening to make false abuse allegations, attempting extortion for financial gain. Malcolm's legal assessment. This protects you completely. But release strategy matters. You can't just dump this online. That looks vengeful. You need to be strategic. We built a plan. 1. Create a simple, professional website. The truth about Cordelia Ashford. 2. Include the full audio recording, timeline of events, property records proving sole ownership, screenshots of her Instagram posts showing false ownership claims, witness statements from the gala. 3. Send it first to specific people. Dr. Bergstrom, Richard Ashford, the gala organizers, Chicago Magazine. 4. After giving them 24 hours to review, release publicly with a measured statement. I drafted my statement. I have remained silent while false accusations were made about my character and shared publicly. I believe in privacy, but I also believe in truth. The attached recording is from a conversation with Cordelia Ashford, who moved into my home 18 months ago and recently attempted to pressure me into transferring property ownership through social manipulation and public humiliation. Her own words reveal her intentions better than anything I could say. I share this not for revenge, but to correct the public record and protect others who might encounter similar manipulation. Saturday morning, we launched the website. I sent personal emails to Richard Ashford, Dr. Bergstrom, and 5 other key figures in my professional network. The email was brief. Before you see this elsewhere, I wanted you to hear directly from me. The attached link contains the truth about recent allegations. Richard Ashford called within an hour. You should have come to me first, he said, his voice tight. I came to you at your daughter's dinner party with concerns about unusual legal pressure. Your response was to congratulate me on making her an equal partner. Silence. Then, that recording, is it authenticated? Timestamped, verified, legally obtained. I have witnesses who can confirm the timeline and your daughter's escalating behavior. Another long silence. She's my daughter, Griffin, but she's also... He struggled with the words. She's also not well. This has been a pattern. Different men, similar situations. I'd hoped this time would be different. It wasn't. No, it wasn't. He sighed heavily. I'll handle our family's response. But you need to understand, when this goes public, it's going to be nuclear. She went nuclear first. I'm just correcting the record. By Saturday afternoon, the website had been shared in private circles. No public explosion yet, but people were listening to the recording, reading the evidence, reassessing their assumptions. Dr. Bergstrom posted a statement on LinkedIn. I've reviewed allegations made at our recent gala. Having worked with Griffin Hayes for 2 years, and having now seen comprehensive documentation of these events, I want to state clearly. He is a person of integrity who was targeted by a sophisticated manipulation campaign. I apologize for any doubt his character may have suffered due to false public statements. That opened the floodgates. By Saturday evening, the recording hit Twitter via anonymous accounts. By Sunday morning, #Cordelia Ashford was trending. The audio clips were everywhere: TikTok, Instagram Reels, YouTube commentary channels. My narrative is more compelling than yours became an instant meme. Cordelia's response was to delete all social media accounts. Her lawyers sent a cease and desist claiming the recording was doctored. Malcolm responded with authentication documentation and the original context that made recording legal. By Monday, professional consequences were cascading. Chicago Magazine issued a public apology to me, canceled their interview with Cordelia. 3 brands dropped her from influencer partnerships. Her podcast interview was canceled. 2 of her friends posted videos exposing other instances of manipulation they'd witnessed. Richard Ashford issued a family statement saying Cordelia was entering treatment and they apologized for harm caused. Tuesday morning, Cordelia checked into a facility in Arizona. According to Richard's brief phone call, it was mandatory if she wanted to remain in the family's good graces. The recording had done exactly what Malcolm predicted, shifted the narrative from man exposes woman to woman's own words expose herself. I hadn't attacked her. I'd simply let her tell the truth about her intentions. 2 weeks later, with Cordelia still in Arizona and her father's lawyers handling the formal property release, I stood in my Lincoln Park townhouse deciding what to keep and what to let go. Morgan helped me pack. We'd spent countless hours together since the recording released, processing everything, rebuilding my sense of normal. How are you actually doing? She asked, carefully wrapping one of the few decorative items I'd chosen myself. You know what's strange? I don't miss her. I miss the idea of coming home to someone. But not her specifically. I don't think I ever actually knew her. She never let you know her. That was the point. Did you always see it? Morgan paused, considering her answer. I saw that she never looked at you the way you looked at her. She looked at you like a project, like something to be optimized and displayed, like you were valuable, but not because of who you actually were. How did you look at me? She met my eyes. Like I was grateful someone that good existed in the world and got to be near them. Like watching you become yourself was the most interesting story I could document. The moment held. Then my phone rang. My lawyer confirming Cordelia had signed a complete release of any property claims in exchange for me not pursuing charges for the credit card fraud we'd discovered. 3 cards opened in my name that I'd never authorized, totaling $43,000 in charges. It was over. I'm selling this place, I said after ending the call. Too many bad memories embedded in the walls. Morgan nodded. Where will you go? Somewhere smaller. Somewhere that actually feels like mine. I looked around at the townhouse I'd been so proud of 4 years ago. This was supposed to prove I'd made it. But I think I've been confusing square footage with success. You did make it, Griffin. You built a business from nothing. You helped develop technology that saves lives. You maintained your integrity when someone tried to destroy it. She smiled. The real estate was never the proof. The best revenge, I'd learned, wasn't in the recording or the exposure or watching her consequences unfold. The best revenge was this, building a life so genuine that her absence improved it. Becoming so completely myself that her opinion, her narrative, her version of who I should be, became irrelevant. She'd said I was a vehicle for her future. She was wrong. I was a bridge to my own, and I'd finally crossed it.
Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments, and do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel.